Good morning. We're in our third week of a series we're calling Parables, just taking stories that Jesus told in the Bible and just breaking them down, explaining them. And I really, when I speak, there's some Sunday mornings that I leave and I think, wow, Chad Bird, you were good today. Most Sunday mornings I don't leave that way. I think, did I get the point across? And, was that exciting enough? Was there enough there that somebody grabbed hold, And so, to be honest with you, this last 3 weeks, parables, it's just not one of those subject matters that just gets me. I mean, that I'm like, oh man, I'm excited about that, So I'm leaving on Sunday mornings and I'm thinking, oh, that's not normally maybe how I teach. I like exciting sermons. I like it when you cry. It just and so, for me, this is just personal. For me, I know God's done something in your life. If I can watch your expressions and I can go, but parables, I mean, really. But I had some people come up to me last week and they were like, I've really enjoyed these sermons on parables. And I'm like, really? Just really? And they're like, yeah. And then they started requesting parables to teach. And I'm thinking, wow, God, you are so good, because when it's something different for me, to go verse by verse, or it's a different style for me, and I feel like, God, are you doing something? You always do something, God. It doesn't really matter how I feel about something. It really matters what God does in a service like this for us. And so everybody comes with different needs. Everybody comes with different wants and different desires. And it's really, it's sometimes it's not about what song is sung, and sometimes it's not really about even what the topic is. It's really about how God uses all of that just to meet the needs that we have in our life. Just picking up on one word or one verse or one song, and we can grab hold of that, and that's enough, to be able to go through whatever it is that we're going through. So today we're going to talk in Luke chapter 18, and it's the parable of the persistent widow. And I can honestly tell you, I have never preached Luke chapter 18 verses 1 through 8 ever in my life. I've read through it. I've read through the Bible multiple times. But never has God led me to Luke chapter 18 verses 1 through 8. Because the story to me, I just look at it and I think, well, that's not going to make anybody cry. That's not going to make anybody just extremely happy about life. I mean, there's no excitement there in Luke chapter 18. But maybe there is. Because this week God has led us to this place, and this is a parable that you probably don't hear spoken very often. But I think God has some amazing stuff in these 8 verses today that can and will change our lives. If we could just grab hold of that, and just grab hold of it, then it is something that can do something great in our lives. Let's read the first part of that together. Luke chapter 18, and we'll start with verse 1. It says, Then Jesus told his disciples a parable to show them that they should always pray and not give up. If you don't get anything else out of the service today, just grab hold of verse number 1 and say, I should always pray and I should never give up. I should always pray and never give up. If I was one of those dorky preachers, I would ask you to repeat that with me, and I would say, you say, always pray, and then you'd say, always pray, and then I'd say, never give up, and you'd say, never give up. But I'm not one of those dorky preachers. So then in verse 2, he says this. He said, in a certain town there was a judge who neither feared God nor cared about men. And there was a widow in that town who kept coming to him with this plea, grant me justice against my adversary. So there was a judge that was in the town, the story goes, that did not care about God, nor did he care about men. So basically, he was in this position only for the perks. He got paid to be there. He got something for it. He got something out of it. It'd be like going to the job every day and really just not giving a flip whether or not it was good or bad. You were just there, and you were just going through the motions. This is kind of the judge that this man was. But there was this woman that day after day, week after week, month after month, she continued to come to the judge, and she would tell him, "Give me justice, Judge. Don't you understand? I need this to happen in my life, so I want you to help me out in this situation." Over and over and over and over. It's kind of like one of those telemarketer phone calls, you know. I don't know if you're getting it or not, but on my cell phone, of all places, I answer it and I'm like, "Hello?" And I hear this horn go off that's like a ship. And, you know, and I don't know what he says, you know, like, "This is your captain speaking." And hey, how many of you have gotten that? Okay, oh my goodness. Yeah. Over and over, I press 3, like, "Take me off the list. I do not want to go on a cruise with the captain." You know? And so I'm just thinking maybe I should just go on the cruise. I don't know. I'm about to give up and just speak to the captain and say, "Where are we going? Because this must be a really good cruise, because you call me every week about this cruise." And it just gets annoying. I mean, over and over and over. "This is your captain speaking. This is your captain speaking. This is your captain speaking." Oh, over and over. And I wonder if that's how the judge felt when this woman would come in and she would say, "Judge, you have to give me justice against my adversary, against my enemy." See, in that time, if you were a widow, more than likely, I think Jesus would have known this, but that if you would have owned land and your husband would have passed away, then there would have been other men in the family that would have came, and they would have tried to get that land, to bring it into what they had. And so if this widow woman was in front of the judge and she would have been pleading for the case that she had, in many commentaries and many things that I read, they said that she could have been there just pleading for the land that she had that was rightfully hers, but these other men that were in the family would come and they would say, "No, I have a right to that land." So you could understand now why she might be going to the judge day after day, week after week, month after month, saying, "You have to give this to me. My husband worked the field," or "My husband had this property," or "This is what is rightfully mine, but you don't care about me. You don't care about that my husband passed away. You don't even see that. But you have to give me justice here, because it's everything that we've got." Over and over and over and over again she goes. And I like what the judge says after a while. It says, in verse 4, it says, "For some time he refused, but finally he said to himself, 'Even though I don't fear God and I don't care about men, I don't care about this situation at all, yet because this widow keeps bothering me,'" because she comes back over and over and over again, "because she keeps bothering me, I will see that she gets justice, so that she won't eventually wear me out with her coming." So just because this woman came multiple times and over and over and over, finally the judge that didn't really care about his job and justice said, "I'm going to go ahead and give her justice, because I'm tired of seeing her face. I'm tired of her coming to this place repeatedly and looking at me and pleading her case and saying the enemy is coming against her. I am just going to give her what she wants, or she will leave me alone." But even the judge that that doesn't fear God, nor does he really care for men, this is what he says in verse 6. So I want you to listen to this part of it because I thought it was intriguing when I read through it. It says, "And the Lord said," as he was teaching this story, "Listen to what the unjust judge says." So this is what the judge says that is unjust, that really doesn't care for God, that doesn't even want to talk about God. This is what the judge says. He says this, he says, "And will not God bring about justice for his chosen ones who cry out to him day and night? Will not God bring forth justice to his chosen ones that cry out both day and night? And he will keep putting, will he keep putting them off as a question that he poses? I tell you, he will see that they get justice, and quickly. However, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth?" So here we have this judge that says, won't God's chosen one, those people that love him, that have dedicated their life to him, that have fallen in love with his Son, wouldn't he give justice to those? But I don't know. A lot of times we feel like our adversaries, those enemies, they come against us, and week after week and month after month, it feels like it piles on. And we say, where are you, God, in all of this? I mean, really, God, why in the world would you let all of this take place? Why, and we turn it and we just say, God, I'm going to pray to you, but I'm going to pray to you one time. I'm going to pray to you this time, and I'm going to see if you're going to work. But if you don't work this time, God, then we're going to have another discussion. God, will you do this for me? Will you do this for my family? God, will you do this? Will you do this? And we step back and we say, all right. There it is. And we don't see anything take place, and we don't see anything happen. And at that point, we just kind of make a decision in our lives. Are we going to continue to be faithful to God? Are we going to continue to trust in God? Are we going to know what the Word says and we are going to stand on those promises, or are we just going to back away? Sometimes it's about 50-50 for us. Sometimes we try to just go ahead and fix it on our own. Sometimes we just try to work it out so it'll be in our best interest. But sometimes we say, God, will you do this for me? Will you do this for my family? Will you work in this situation? And we don't see anything, and then we come back. And we say, God, will you do this for me? Will you do this for my family? Will you do this in this situation? Will you work in this situation? And it doesn't happen. And then we come back. And we say, God, will you do this for me? The whole point of the story, when you start out in verse 8, in chapter 18, verse 1, it says, "Then Jesus told his disciples a parable to show them that they should always pray and not give up." I wonder sometimes if we give up too quick. We say, well, God's not working. God's not doing it. God's not helping me out. God's not there. If you have turned your life over to Him and you have a relationship with Him, you know God is always there. He's always there. He's never forsaken you. He's never turned His back on you. He's always there. But sometimes things don't work out in our timing. You know, I'm a very impatient person. Patience is not a virtue of mine. If I want something, you know, if you know me very well, you know that I'm an addict. I'm addicted to Craigslist. I have 2 Craigslist apps on my phone. I don't know why. And I'm on there. I'm always looking. I'm kind of like a lady that would go through a mall. Not all ladies do this, but some do. And they just shop. Wow, I like that. And they're not going to buy it, but they go try it on, and they say, well, that looks good. I would do that. And then they put it back on there. Never have any intentions of buying, I'm kind of like that on my phone. I'll just be looking through and I'll say, wow, that's a good deal. I'd like to have that. But if you know me very well, once I find something on there that I want, I get it. You say, oh, really? Yeah, I'll find a way. I'll find a way. We were sitting in the office one morning, and I'm sitting there, I'm looking on, and I see a herd of cattle on my phone. I say, well, wow, let me see. And I added that up, and I did a calculator, and I'm like, that seems pretty cheap. That's that much ahead. And there's some calves on the side, and so I just turned to John. I said, hey, you want to buy some cattle? And he turns to me, because our desks are like, you should go in the office sometime. I invite you in. We have 5 desks there. We all office in one room, and it's good and bad. So anyway, I turned to him, said, you want to buy some cattle? He turns to me. He said, I don't know. I said, well, look at this. Here's on my phone. He looks at that, and he says, I don't know. Yeah, let's go do it. I said, okay, well, I don't have the money for the cattle. You got money? No, we don't have money. Well, we'll find a way. So we find a way. And, like the next day, we're picking up cattle. We're cattlemen. I don't know anything about cows. I know they eat and they poop. But I'm learning, because we've got like 16 head of cows. And did you know we're in a drought? Yeah, I mean, these things are going to have something to eat pretty quick. Yeah, that is exactly right. But I'm just telling you, if I want it, I just find a way. I'm persistent about it. I can trade for it. I can do whatever. I can buy. I can sell this and maneuver that around and get that. But sometimes it's not about how we, just want it or we want God to do it and then we just find a way to get it done. Sometimes it's not about just moving it over here and switching this around and doing it this way so this will do that. Sometimes it's just about stepping back and just saying, God, it's yours. And then coming back the next day and saying, God, it's yours. The situation, the problem, the area that we're in, whatever it is. God, would you help me when my enemy comes against me? And would you give me justice in this area? And how much would the one that loves God, would he not look at you? And would he not grant those things that you need in your life to be successful? Over and over and over and over. It might not be in your timing. I'm sorry that he might be trying to move you to a better place. I'm sorry if he is trying to change some things around so that we're in the spot that we need to be. I'm sorry today if it's not in your timing. But if you'll be persistent and you'll go to God and you will petition him over and over and over, and you'll show your faithfulness to him. To be able to step back and say, maybe it's not the way that I thought it would be, God. Maybe it's not how it was supposed to all turn out in my mind. But I'm here for a reason today. You're in the situation, you're in the place that you are right now for a reason. You say, I don't like the place that I'm in. I don't like it when the enemy comes in and he comes against me and things are taken from me and things are going wrong and things aren't like I...
I don't like that place. I want to read you a scripture. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. Verse 16. Be joyful always. Psst. Did you not just hear what I said? I don't like being in this place. I don't like the situation that I'm in. I'm not in an area of my life that I'm really appreciative of what God is doing at the time. And then you have the audacity to stand up on a stage behind a table, a desk, a pulpit, and tell me, be joyful always? Well, it's good, because that's not my words. That's God's words to you today. You have a decision that you can make. You can be miserable, and people love to be miserable. Oh, I love to be miserable. It's so much more fun to be miserable. Or you can be joyful. You say, I don't know why I'm in the situation I'm in. I don't know why God has brought me to this place. But I'm telling you, 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 16, he instructs us to be joyful. It's something when our attitude changes, and no longer are we downcast and out and distraught. But we've had enough of a relationship. We've prayed enough, and we've connected enough to God that when we look at this, we can say, in all things I can rejoice. I don't know why he's brought me to this place. I don't know why I'm going through the things that I'm going through, but you can't change my attitude. Because I am happy in the place that I'm with God. Because God never changes. My life goes like this. You know, my God is like this. Steady as a rock. Always level. Always knows. And so I'm just passing God all the time. But he's like this. So I'm happy for a while, and then I'm sad. Then I'm great for a long time, and then I'm disappointed. And then it's like the wonderful things are going on in my life, and now everything is gone. God, let me find the place in my life that the relationship is so faithful to you that it's steady. That it's steady. So when tragedy comes, I can still say, I'm okay. I'm okay. I didn't know how I would handle things if bad things came into my life. You know, you see people all the time handle things in different ways. But when they called me up, when I was on the side of the road, when the nurses called and said, you have this in your body, and I knew that meant that eventually I would die because of that. I didn't know how I would handle it till that moment. You don't know. And I just decided I was going to serve God no matter what. No matter what. It just never crossed my mind anything else. I didn't say, where are you, God? I've served you. I have pastored for 20 years. I have been here and I have served you and I have done everything I could for you. And then all of a sudden, somebody calls me up and says, you have a death sentence? Not one time did I think that my God had failed me. I needed my God then more than I ever needed him before. Be joyful wherever you're at, whatever's been told to you, whatever situation you're going through. Be joyful. And then just two more verses right here that are so important. It says, give thanks in all circumstances. Give thanks in all circumstances. Cindy and Leroy, you lost your house this week, didn't you? You lost everything. Their son, he lost everything, didn't he? There's a couple other families in the church. They lost it all. So you got a lot of audacity to stand up there and say, be joyful and give thanks in all circumstances. I thank God that Cindy and Leroy weren't in that home. I thank God today that I believe that He will rebuild and restructure and that He will do more for your family. It will be better than it was before. If you give God time, if you let God work, if you remain faithful to Him, He'll give you more than you began with. Because that's the type of God that we serve. It says, give thanks in all circumstances. And you say, what is God's will for my life? It says, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. One more time. Be joyful in everything. Pray continually. Give thanks in all circumstances. For this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. God's asking you today to be persistent. For this prayer, this lifestyle, this thing that you've got going, that's a continual thing. I want to do this. If you're here today in this service and you're praying for something and you're saying, God, I want, and whatever it is you're praying for, you fill in the blank. God, I need this, whatever it is, and you fill in the blank. God, my heart is, whatever it is, and you just fill in the blank. If you're searching and you're seeking and you're trying to figure it out, you need God to move and you need God to work. In this little story in chapter 18, the book of Luke, I've never preached it before. I hadn't really paid much attention to it, to be honest with you. But there's a lot of truth in that story. Because whatever it is you're needing today, or you're praying for, or you're praying about, that little story gives me hope. If an unjust judge will look at that widow woman and say, here it is, then how much more would God want to look at you and say, because you are one of my chosen ones, here it is. I give it to you. This is what is yours. This is what you've been longing for. This is what you've been praying for. This is what you've been desiring. This has been what you've needed for so long. This is it. And I don't know if it'll happen today when you come to this place and pray. I don't know. Because I don't have the timing of God figured out. I just know when you need it the most, He gives it to you. I know that a lot of times in the midnight hour, I hate midnight hours. The last moment, the last second where you think, is it going to happen? He says, here it is, because you've decided to give me glory for it instead of taking the credit for it yourself. If you're praying for something today, I tell you, He will see that you get justice and quickly. However, When the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth? Do you have enough faith today to continue to pray and continue to ask and continue to petition, to continue to be persistent? Is he going to find faith in you? Is he going to find faith in you? If you're praying for something, I want you to come today. And I want you to stand across the front of this stage, because I, today, want to lay hands on you and agree with you as your pastor that whatever it is, that God will do it. I'll be persistent as you are, day after day after day, until God grants you those things that you need in your life. You know I'll stand with you. You know that I'll stand with you, because I have enough faith and you have enough faith that God is going to do it.